Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would everybody please be seated? I would like to announce our special guests, which you're all special. However, Dr. Thurston, Town Supervisor. Sue Serino, State Senator. Kieran Lawler, State Assembly. Joseph Cavassini, Dutchess County Legislature. Nick D'Alessandro, East Fishkill, Town Supervisor. Chris Phillips, 3rd Ward, Town Board. Al Casella, 4th Ward, Town Council. Fishkill Councilman, Brendan Rye. And Judge Chase. The judge needs no introduction. Before I do the POWMIA table, I would like everybody to just keep in mind Billy Croozy, Wayne Whiteley, Joseph McDonald, and Daniel Martz. These were all killed in action, serving their country. I will now do the POWMIA remembrance. As we begin this afternoon's festivities, let us together recognize our comrades who are prisoners of war or missing in action. Everybody uncover, please. We call our attention to the small table which occupies a place of honor near the head table. It is set for one, symbolizing our brothers, members of the armed forces who are missing from our ranks. I suppose I could use this. We call them comrades. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families, so we join together to pay humble tribute to them and to bear witness to their continued absence. The table is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against an army of suppressors. The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of our comrades' intentions to respond to our country's call to arms. The single rose in the vase signifies the blood they may have shed in sacrifice to ensure the freedom of our beloved USA. The rose also reminds us of the family and friends who keep the faith while awaiting their return. The yellow ribbon on the vase represents the yellow ribbons worn by thousands who demand with unyielding determination a proper accounting of our comrades who are not among us tonight. A slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of their bitter fate. The salt sprinkled on the plate reminds us of the countless fallen tears of families and comrades as they wait. The glass is inverted, for they cannot toast with us. The chair is empty. They are not with us tonight. The candle represents the light of hope which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors to the arms of a grateful nation. The American flag reminds us that many of them may never return, having paid the supreme sacrifice to ensure our freedom. Let us pray to the Supreme Commander that all of our comrades, those prisoners of war and those missing in action, will soon be back within our ranks. Let us remember and never forget their sacrifice. May God forever watch over them and protect them and their families. Let us all remember. That's it. Recover. I probably should have had everybody standing. That was bad planning. Now, across the nation, Americans are uniting to thank and honor Vietnam veterans and their families for their service and their sacrifice. This is the main focus of the United States of America Vietnam War Commemoration, a national 50th anniversary commemoration authorized by Congress, established under the Secretary of Defense and launched by President Barack Obama in 2012. Congress penned a total of 5 objectives, with the primary being to thank and honor our Vietnam veterans and their families for their sacrifice and for their service and sacrifice on behalf of the nation. Thousands upon thousands of organizations, our commemorative partners, have joined us in this noble mission of honoring our 6.2 Vietnam veterans living at home and abroad, and the 9 million families of all who served. Publicly and individually, Vietnam veterans are being presented with a Vietnam veteran lapel pin that will be on the table outside in the lobby, a lasting memento of the nation's thanks. Now, some really notable things to ponder. Milton Olive III is the first black soldier to receive the Medal of Honor in Vietnam, in the Vietnam War. At age of 18, he fell on a grenade to save his comrades. Lieutenant Colonel Albert P. Dewey of the OSS was the first American KIA in Vietnam in 1945. Charles McMahon and Darwin Judge were the last servicemen killed in the Vietnam War, the day before the fall of Saigon. Our POWMIA table also notes the dogs of war who have served our armed forces beginning in World War I and World War II. Nearly 5,000 canines served in the Vietnam War. Now, if you have the time, there are pictures there, and I believe there's some writing about Vietnam, about the canines of war, the dogs of war. They're amazing. They're as good as service dogs. And I believe that as service dogs, they worked honorably. I would like, in line of people to speak about their experiences, I would like to introduce a member of our DAV, one of the officers of Chapter 144, Bob Taylor. Bob?
Okay, my name is Bob Taylor. I'm a proud member of the Disabled American Veterans, Chapter 144 at Castle Point. I was in the military, the Army, from 1964 to 1969. I was in Vietnam from 1968 to 1969. It was, well, as most of you know, quite the experience. When I first went to Vietnam, we flew in. It was at the tail end of the Tet Offensive. When the plane came down, I looked out the window. You couldn't believe when I saw that. I mean, the devastation was horrible. And I'm thinking to myself all the time, what the hell did I do? I got myself into this. But persevered, I went through it, and got my year in and everything else. But then the real rude awakening came when I came back home. Our plane landed at Travis. We got to take a hot shower and everything, and I was in the airport in San Francisco with a bunch of other NCOs having a beer, waiting for our flights home. While we're sitting there, a young man, I'll say a hippie, he came walking up to our table. He had these anti-war papers, well, stuff like that. And I thought to myself, either he's the bravest guy in the world, the craziest guy in the world, or he's the highest guy in the world. Okay? But there was no animosity or anything. He put his papers down. We didn't really exchange pleasantries, if you will. And that was the end of that situation. So, but that was my first real feeling of what I was in for, coming back from Vietnam. We were not welcome. And I, you know, like most of you guys, I had an axe to grind and everything else. Thank God for my wife. She got me through those first 10 years. It was 10 years, could have gone one way or the other. But she was tougher than I was. She's a Sicilian, okay? So she squared me away. But like I told her, and I'll tell anybody else that would listen, what I felt when I got home. I was lied to by my leaders. And my country turned its back on me. That was not a good feeling. But now, all those years later, by the grace of God, I've had a good life. And I hope most other guys, any veterans, have a good life like I did. But that was it. You know, I became part of the silent majority, like a bunch of other guys, and muddled along, and that was it. And here I am today. So I can only say, best of luck to all of you folks out there, and hang in. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Ken Croozy is the brother of William Croozy, otherwise known as Billy. I'd like Ken to come up and share some of his thoughts with us, one of which I'm going to steal a little bit of his thunder. His brother is enshrined in Ketchum High School. He's a Hall of Fame winner. And that's all I had time to get out of Ken, and all the thunder I was able to steal. Here's Ken.
So first of all, Kevin, I'd like to thank you for the invite today. And obviously, you all know that I'm here because I lost my brother, killed in action in Vietnam. And just like to talk about that a little bit. So my brother, as he said, is in the Hall of Fame. And he's in there because he was all county in both basketball and football, both. And prior to him going into Vietnam, he went to Dutchess Community College and got his associate's degree in electronics. After that, he went into the Army and he did his basic training in Fort Dix, which is in New Jersey, for the 125th Infantry Division. After that, he was sent immediately to Vietnam. Unfortunately, on June 6th of 1969, he was killed in action at Firebase Crook. And after that, I was in the 4th grade at the time. I was 8 years old, and I was going to St. Mary's in Wappingers. And Monsignor Brennan, if anybody recognizes the name, he came into the 4th grade classroom, interrupted the study, and he asked that I could go out to the hall. The first thing in my mind was, oh no, I'm in trouble again. But unfortunately, I wasn't in trouble. He told me my brother was killed in action. From that point, he took me home. As soon as I opened the door, my parents were sitting on the couch in complete and total devastation at that time. And from that point going forward, my family has dedicated their lives to all Veterans Affairs. My father immediately started volunteering at Castle Point. Unfortunately, we lost him in 2003, but at that time, he had by far more voluntary hours than anybody in history. I do not know if that continues to exist today, but at that time it was. My mother was a Gold Star mother and served in many varying aspects of the Gold Star mothers, including statewide and national-wide. She traveled all over the country for Veterans Affairs. During the time that my mother passed away in 2012, I had the unfortunate task of cleaning out the house. And during the process of that, I found all of the letters that my brother had sent home when he was in action. And one of the letters that I found and have kept is the day before his passing, which was June 5th, where he sent a letter home and he talked about how many days he had left in the hellhole, that he couldn't wait to get home to see his family and especially his fiance, who unfortunately never got married. My brother loved her very much, and her name is POWMIA. One amazing thing that happened to me in 2014 was I received a call from my cousin, Kenny Serino. He told me that he was online and had been speaking to someone who was with my brother at the time of his death, asked me if I had any interest in speaking with him. I said, absolutely. His name was Norm Briggsma. He gave me his contact information. I called him, spoke to him on the phone, and he was the one that actually carried my brother after he was shot. The amount of guilt that this man had faced throughout his whole entire life, up to the point that he spoke to me, was unrecognizable. The relief that he felt after speaking to me, his brother, was amazing. He told me so. He felt the relief at that time. The most amazing part was 1 month later, I received a call from my cousin Kenny again that he passed away. And it was therapy for me as it was for him. And it was just a sense of relief for both of us. And it's just amazing to me that I was actually found the individual who carried my brother after 45 years of not knowing who it was. And I want to thank every one of the veterans in this room for serving, and everybody please thank a vet today. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ken. Adam, would you say a few words, please? Adam Roche, the Dutchess County VSO.
For our Vietnam vets, welcome home. You guys never got that. You came home to an ungrateful nation. You were spat on, cursed at, and endured other unspeakable atrocities. But with that, you made sure my generation never has to deal with that. And personally, I want to say thank you. Thank you for everything that you guys do. And it's an honor to be your director. I just want to let you know that. So with that, God bless you. And God bless our Vietnam vets. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Assemblyman Kieran.
Great to be here with you. Great event. I'm glad you organized this event. I hope to see this concept spread around the area and around the state and around the country. It's a great idea on the day we remember our Vietnam veterans. You know, Sue and I, in the next 2 or 3 days, we're going to be hammering out a budget. We're going to be in a room full of politicians. And I can't say how great it is, compared with that, to be in a room full of Vietnam veterans versus the room full of politicians we're going to be with. You agree, Sue? Yes. But I will say this. The bright spot when you walk into the New York State Assembly, the Sergeant at Arms, who was a man, elegant man, Wayne Jackson in his 70s, is a Vietnam veteran and a Purple Heart recipient. So when we walk through the doors of the Assembly, we're greeted by the Sergeant at Arms who keeps law and order in the chamber there. And he's one of your own, a Vietnam veteran and a great man and a great American. I wanted to speak today about Vietnam veterans that we lost and remembering Vietnam veterans and some of the Vietnam veterans that I had the great opportunity growing up with in Wappingers here. Our mailman, and I don't know his last name, but he was our mailman for like 100 years, since before I was born until I went to college. He knows more about my family growing up down there in Brothers Road than anybody. Dennis the mailman was his name. I don't know if you grew up in the Brothers Road, Edgehill area. I'm sure he was your mailman. He was a 22, 23-year-old kid, I would say now. He seemed old at the time, but came right out of the Army, into the Postal Service, and was our mailman for his whole career. And he was a part of our life every day. In the old days, you had to wait around. The mail was an event worth waiting for. And he delivered our mail every day for his whole career. Good man. My first job, I was 12. I worked for Neve Landscaping You know, Neve Landscaping is a big company now. Bill Neve still lives in the area. He's still around. I've seen him at the Veterans Day event. Vietnam Vietnam Marine, in fact. A good man, and ran his company, even as a little kid working for him, as a young man working for him, ran his company like the Marine NCO that he was. But the biggest influence on kids growing up in my area was the place where we all played, over on Pie Lane, where Pie Lane meets Montfort Road. The Pie Lane Park, which is still a great park. It's actually bigger and better than ever. And we just called it Mart's. In the summer, when we said we were going to camp, we said we're going to Mart's. When we wanted to play basketball or tennis or knock hockey, we said we're going to Mart's to do those things. In the fall and the winter, we played backyard football, not in our backyards, but we played it at Mart's. And as kids, we kind of in the back of our mind knew that Mart's wasn't just the name arbitrarily given to this place where we had so much fun. It was the name of a Vietnam veteran who gave his life. In fact, he was the first Vietnam veteran in Dutchess County to give his life in Vietnam, Daniel Martz, Major Daniel Martz. And I guess we knew that this place that was special to us was named for this Vietnam hero. There's a monument there to this day. There was a monument back there 35 years ago. And a few years ago for Memorial Day, to prepare for a Memorial Day speech, I looked into who this man was who had this park named after him. And I learned a lot about him. He was a Mustang. He started out as an enlisted man and reached the rank of E6 as an enlisted man and then became an officer. He was in the Army since the 40s, so by the time he went to Vietnam in the mid-60s, he had been all over the country, but he was here in Dutchess County and in Wappinger Falls because he was the XO of a local U.S. Army Reserve unit. And he got the call to go to Vietnam, and at the time he had 5 kids, and 3 of them went to Wappinger Junior High right over here, behind us, across the street, and the 2 younger ones went to Fishkill Plains Elementary. And he went to Vietnam, and he was serving in Vietnam as the XO of that company, and he was driving a Jeep, and came under small arms fire from the Viet Cong, and he drove the Jeep away, and the enemy fire followed him, and it allowed the passengers of his Jeep, his fellow soldiers, to escape and live. And he perished. And his wife here in Wappinger received a telegram letting her know that her husband had been killed in action in Vietnam. And those 5 kids, I mean, you can imagine the scars from that loss at those young ages. And one of them went on to graduate from West Point. And when I did that research, I started thinking, is it weird, is it improper that we had so much fun, so much carefree time at a place named for this guy who died young, left a young family behind? And at first blush, you think, yeah, maybe that doesn't quite fit. Maybe that is incongruent. But when you think more about it, and when I thought more about it, I realized, you know what? That's the perfect place. Guys like Daniel Martz, the guys in this room, the men and women who served in Vietnam did that so young people of my generation and future generations could have those carefree, fun days of being a kid and growing up in a great place. So thank you for what you've done in your life, in your Vietnam service, and in the decades since. I'm grateful for what you did. Our country is grateful for what you did. And you deserve all the blessings that you helped protect in your time in the service and in Vietnam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kieran. Before I go any further, I'd like to acknowledge the people behind this, behind me. I may seem organized, but those who know me know that's not true. Jessica and Al and Dick, all 3 of those people, and Joey, all of those people were behind me in doing this, and this wouldn't have been possible without them. Thank you. I'd like to have Dick, the Supervisor Thurston, come up and say a few words, and he needs no introduction, except, come on up.
Good afternoon to all of our heroes alive and on the walls. I truly want to welcome you home. You know, it's a great honor to be here today, and actually, in the inspiration of what Kieran just did, I'm going to forget my notes. And I want to say that the real thanks for this goes to Kevin. When I was first elected as supervisor, I set as a priority, and Kevin at that point in time helped, and then I made him deputy supervisor so that we would make a unique focus on our veterans in Wappinger and the surrounding area. I myself never served in the war. I had a draft number of 326. I was in the first draft, but I was not served, although two of my roommates both got number 1 in 2 successive years. But I also felt somewhat embarrassed, and so I promised to strive to do everything I could to help our veterans, especially from what was really, as I was going through college, probably the most unwanted war around the world. It wasn't just us, but also Vietnam. And I was on one of the first, I was doing work with the Vietnamese business, and I had the great fortune to meet who was Ambassador Pete Peterson. As many of you know, he was one of the first folks that was imprisoned in the Hanoi Hilton, which I personally visited. A horrific area for human beings to be posed. And we went out into the field. And one day we were outside of north of Hanoi, and we were out there trying to find missing dog tags, bones, and buttons, and what was left. And we had this report of one village, and we went to the village, and lo and behold, a lovely Vietnamese family presented to us the remains from a pilot that went down in the very early 70s, probably I think it was 70 or so, and they presented it to us. And I said, why are you doing this? Don't you know that you could be executed? Back then, there was still a crime, although the US government had made it not so, that any Vietnamese that housed, protected the remains of an American soldier could be executed on the spot. So they said to me, we know that these are the remains of somebody's son. And we have our own sons and daughters, and we felt that it was due the most respect in order to preserve and eventually, I think as in Ken's case said and so forth, bring the person back home to great peace and respect. So we've decided, in the town, and working closely with Adam and other organizations to do everything we can, and Randy will talk a little bit about the great respect that we have and want to continue to promote, throughout not just the town of Wappinger, but the area. I'm really pleased to see our fellow supervisor, Nick D'Alessandro, is also doing a number of things for veterans. So we want to make this going forward, especially for our Vietnamese heroes, such as the 6 that are actually shown in the banners. As you all know, we have the Hometown Banners, program, the Hometown Heroes Banners program, to make it a living memorial going forward. And so that's why Kevin and I decided to have this day as the first of what I hope are many, many to come, and many other things you'll hear from Randy on that. Back in the beginning of March, when I approached the board, town board, unanimously, without any question and the full support, wanted us to do this day as well as all the other activities that we're doing. So I want to just read to you the proclamation that the town board approved back about a month ago. And it's a proclamation recognizing March 29th, 2022 as Vietnam War Veterans Day in the town of Wappinger. Whereas throughout the history of the United States of America, countless brave individuals have answered the call to patriotic duty, including Vietnam veterans who endured unspeakable hardships and risked their lives fighting for the ideals of democracy. It was on March 29, 1973, that the last of 2,500 American combat troops were withdrawn from the battlefields of Vietnam. And whereas American involvement in the Vietnam War was one of the longest military conflicts in American history, I think it's the second longest, began with the arrival of the United States military personnel in South Vietnam in the 1950s upon the fall of the Dien Phu, of the French occupation at that time, and then ended with the fall of Saigon on April 30th, 1975, when the last Americans were evacuated from the United States Embassy. Whereas the town of Wappinger recognizes the 9 million plus Americans, approximately 7 million living today, who served in the U.S. Armed Forces during this period, and makes no distinction between those who served in the country in theater or were stationed elsewhere throughout the 20 years. All of them answered the call of duty, and some of the other banners are of soldiers that were active during that time in other theaters, but in fullest support of all you that served in Vietnam. Whereas the town of Wappinger will never forget the memories of those who were killed in action, such as Major Daniel M. Martz Jr., as we heard from Assemblyman Lawler, the first Dutchess County resident to die, and Major Joseph McDonald, who is still missing in action, is actually a relative of one of our councilmen, William Bill. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Wappinger do hereby proclaim March 29, 2022 as Vietnam War Veterans Day in the town of Wappinger, Dutchess County, New York. And thank you all for your amazing service to this country that is continuing and ongoing. So everyone, please give a round of appreciation for our veterans. Thank you.
Our next speaker needs no introduction except that this is Sue.
Thank you, Kevin. This is amazing, and I want to say, Bob, thank you for your service, and to all of our Vietnam veterans that are here today, and all of our veterans, and Kevin, Ken's brother. I just would like to say I'm so sorry that you lost your brother, and thank you for sharing your story. You know, I was a child, like many of us were, during the Vietnam War, and I don't think a lot of people really understood like how the country turned their back on our men and women, right, that paid the ultimate sacrifice and then came home, and it was like a real slap in the face. So I can't thank you enough. And I think a moment in time, like we all have a moment in time when something really hits you, and I've worked with our veterans for many years, but I was at the honor flight, and I want to say it was 2016 or 2017, and they opened it up to our Vietnam veterans. Oh my God, there wasn't a dry eye in that audience of hundreds and hundreds of people to finally say, welcome home, and thank you. And you know, if there is a veteran in the room that hasn't gone on the honor flight, and I made this promise to Colonel Larkin, who passed away a few years ago, he was our champion of our veterans, that I would tell people about that honor flight, because that's something that's a little thank you that is free to our veterans, and you have a family member, whoever, that you would want to be an honor guard. I did it a few years ago, and it was probably one of the best days of my life, just to say thank you, which stands for honor, respect, and gratitude. And Adam and Kieran, as younger veterans, I can't thank you enough. And you're right, the Vietnam veterans paved the way for you guys, right? So thank you, and God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And now I'd like to introduce you to Craig Marshall. He's the Dutchess County Historical Service person. He wants to do, well, I'll let him speak.
Good to see all of you here today. I am Craig Marshall. I served with the U.S. Navy Seabees in Da Nang, 2 tours, 66 through 68. I was a young 24-year-old at that time. I was actually a battalion interpreter for Vietnamese language. They sent me to language school. And by the way, this uniform I wore 56 years ago. But I'm here today representing the Dutchess County Historical Society, and as some of you may know, we've been doing, for the last 4 years, we've been doing oral history interviews of veterans of all wars. And we've gotten some remarkable stories. And I'm here today to invite the veterans of all wars to share your stories with us. I have the sheet is on the back table, and it gives more information. It doesn't obligate you to sign up, but it gives you more information about the program. We took 7 of these veterans from World War II, Korea, and Desert Storm. We took excerpts from their interviews. We made a video, and that's a public video, and the link is on the bottom of this card, which is also on the back table. So the stories of these veterans was really remarkable, not just for the experience that they had, but how they felt about their service. And it's really a very touching video. It's only 24 minutes. So I would encourage you to go online and look at that. And I'd like you to, by the way, Adam has also given us a lot of support with this program, so thank you, Adam. And I thank you, Kevin, for having me up here, and I appreciate that. And if you'd like to talk to me, I'll be in the back afterwards. So please pick up the forms and look at the video, and we really encourage you to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. One last thing before I introduce our next speaker is that outside in the lobby, we have magnets pertaining to Vietnam. Let's see, the magnets, we have pins, lapel pins for survivors as well as for the Vietnam veterans. We also have pins that say basically the same thing. So the military folks can actually wear that lapel pin in their hats proudly. My next speaker is Randy Ross, who's up to speak about our projects.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm very honored to be here and part of this very touching ceremony. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your service, not just for the vets, but for the families who have sacrificed so much. Under the leadership of Kevin and the support, constant support of our town board and our supervisor, the Wappingers Veterans Advisory Group has made a difference in this community for the past 3 years. I just want to give you some of the projects that we're doing. If any of them sound interesting to you, sound like you'd like to be part of them, please call Town Hall. Let Kevin know, let someone know. First of all, thanks to Sue Serino, Senator Serino, we have designated part of Route 9 as Wappingers Veterans Memorial Highway. We were able to put 2 signs up, one on the north end by what used to be Subaru, and one down at the south end. That was a very, very big project that we worked on. Local vets have been recognized, as you see, by these hometown hero banners throughout our town in many of the intersections and the highways and the byways. Kevin is also selling memorial bricks with the names of survivors or of vets, family members. They were placed at Martz Field. They're at Schlockhaus Park. Hopefully they're going to be in front of Town Hall, possibly in the veterans area, and possibly in other areas of the town. If you're interested in purchasing either a banner or a brick, again, please let Town Hall know. We really could use your help with those things. On the 16th of April, we have our 2nd annual marathon, our 5K marathon, that the proceedings go to all veterans benefits. You can sign up online. It's open now, or you can sign up at the event, which is 7 o'clock in the morning. Last year was a tremendous success. We had lots of runners, a couple hundred runners and walkers, and people who just sat in their living room at their computers and did it virtually. So you can do that too. That is the 16th of April. It's up at
Dutchess Rail Trail at Lake Walton.
At Lake Walton, I'm sorry, Lake Walton. Did you hear that? That's where it's at. Go to the website and you'll find all that information. One of the projects that Kevin and I are working on now, which we're very excited about, is our group, the WVA, would like to sponsor a service dog to give to a veteran, either to a disabled veteran or to a veteran that has a chronic medical condition. These are dogs that have what they call smart noses. They can detect if a vet is having an epileptic fit, if a vet is sugar is low or high, if they have diabetes. We would like to purchase one of these dogs. We don't really purchase it, but you rent it, so to speak, and we will give it to a local veteran to be with them in their home. So that's another project. If you're interested, we could always use your help for that. Again, we could always use volunteers. The WVA is a very, very active organization. A lot of it is done under the radar, but it is a very active organization. And again, we want to thank Kevin for all he's done, for the supervisor, and to the town hall, and of course, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Randy. And I would love to thank all of you for coming. We're going to do this again next year, and we never know what winter's going to do from 1 hour to the next, so it'll probably be indoors again. There will be an awful lot more advance notice and advance warning so that you'll be able to spread the word, and I'll be spreading the word so that we have people out in the lobby waiting to get in. I guess we're going to wrap this up. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, I wasn't going to forget that. In addition to the coffee and the cakes on the back table, remember there's another table in the lobby that has all of the stuff that you can use, including there are a couple of easels, 3 easels actually, with stuff about what Barack Obama did in 2012, what Donald Trump did in 2017. It's the proclamation that made today possible. And both of those presidents believed very much in the veterans and fought to do whatever they could to help the veterans. A little side note, the Israeli government is now talking with some Arab neighbors. I personally think that's a fantastic thing. And Donald Trump was instrumental. Donald and Jared Kushner were instrumental in getting that done. I wouldn't say they did it all, but they were instrumental. So, you know, regardless of what's going on in the Ukraine, and God bless those Ukrainians, they are kicking it. Enjoy the coffee, enjoy the day, and grab a lapel pin or a jacket button. And thank you very much for everybody coming out.